In the rolling hills north of the town of Edson is one of Alberta's most underrated ski areas. Silver Summit once boasted a vertical drop of almost 200 meters with a chairlift spanning over a kilometre in length. And until recently, it seemed as if Silver Summit may be on the comeback. This video has been on my to-do list for a while, and I'm glad to finally be getting the chance to talk about this extremely unknown and unique mountain. So without further ado, let's jump right into this video. The history of downhill skiing at Silver Summit dates back to the 1960s. In 1962, Silver Summit Hill was discovered by two local men who started to take yearly snowfall tests. By 1964, the snowfall tests were so promising that a permanent winter access road had begun to be constructed with the idea that a ski area would eventually be developed. In 1966, three Edmonton businessmen, Jim McCaig, Paul Malthus, and Ron Everall, proposed the ski hill on the north slopes of Silver Summit Hill. The group reportedly wanted to develop a new Alberta ski area that would be located outside a national park. They announced the construction of a double chair, rope tow, day lodge, parking lot, and 6 ski runs of varying difficulty. According to the initial plan, runs and lifts were also proposed on the other sides of Silver Summit Hill should the initial development be a success. Later that year, run clearing had begun. Construction officially started in the summer of 1968, and despite the chairlift construction only starting in October, the lift and ski lodge were both finished by early December. By now, the price tag had ballooned from the initial estimates of $350,000 to $1 million, but that didn't stop Silver Summit from officially opening on January 4th, 1969 to much fanfare. Silver Summit initially boasted a modern Murray-Latta double chair, a ski lodge with overnight dormitories, and a rental shop. Ski buses began to be run between the ski area, Edson, and certain locations in Edmonton. In fact, Silver Summit even opened up an office in what's now Edmonton's Enterprise Square. Now, while the ski area had become extremely popular with the local community, the access road was a major sticking point. Silver Summit was forced to close early for both the initial season and the 1969 to 1970 season due to the access road completely deteriorating. By the summer of 1970, the group of investors hired Rick Dam as the general manager and stepped away from ski area operations. They also hinted that a sale or bankruptcy might take place if the numbers didn't improve. By July of 1971, Silver Summit was put up for sale. By September, the ski area was in the bankruptcy courts, asking the government for $220,000 in financial assistance. Though this assistance was denied, Silver Summit was not in a unique situation. Rabbit Hill, Snow Ridge, and West Castle were all in similar financial situations. Poor winters and poor access roads had all been extremely hard, and many ski areas were feeling this financial crunch. By November of 1971, Rick Dam outright purchased Silver Summit from the bankruptcy court. Though Rick Dam had tried to get the government to fund access road maintenance, he wasn't able to. Despite this, Dam renamed the mountain to Silver Summit Alpine Village and announced additional developments. Though the financial statements were not in the best shape, Rick Dam was hopeful that additional ski areas would be developed in the surrounding foothills that would serve as a Little Laurentian ski resort network. In 1974, Rick Dam announced that a new Doppelmayr T-bar would be installed, serving an intermediate and advanced ski run. Additionally, Paul Malthus, one of the original developers, came back to Silver Summit as the lodge manager. It was also around this time that the Canadian Armed Forces began conducting winter exercises at Silver Summit, which partially helped fund improvements to the access road. In April of 1975, the double chair experienced an extreme malfunction when 4 chairs fell to the ground. While 2 skiers were injured, thankfully no deaths occurred and the lift was repaired later on. In 1979, Rick Dam opened up a new cross-country circuit at Silver Summit to boost more business. By 1982, partially inspired by Silver Summit, a group out of Whitecourt, Alberta planned a new ski hill on House Mountain. Runs were cleared, 2 used T-bars were purchased, and a chalet was purchased before work was permanently halted. To this day, the cart runs are still visible on the mountain. In the summer of 1984, Rick Dam installed a new ski jump at Silver Summit. This came on as Silver Summit was selected as the home of the 1986 Alberta Winter Games. While the ski jumps were used extensively before and during the Winter Games, as time went on, the jumps began to be more and more disused and are now completely abandoned. After the 1980s, nothing really changed at Silver Summit. The ski hill was still managed by Rick Dam, and though his family later took on operations, he was still very much present on the mountain. Silver Summit operated as it always had year after year, with little to no changes or improvements. And then suddenly in 2018, Silver Summit announced that they would close permanently. I have heard rumors that part of the base lodge roof collapsed, but I have no idea if this is true or not. I have also not been able to find any information on their website as to why they closed at all. Since 2020, I've occasionally been checking in on the Silver Summit website, hoping for a positive update. In December of 2022, Silver Summit announced on their website that a reopening was very likely. However, that reopening never happened. As of October 2023, the website has completely been changed, and Silver Summit is listed as permanently closed. Now, the website change is truly bizarre. All it does is rank Canada's top 13 ski resorts in a peak ranking style video, but it does so using AI-generated images and multiple grammatical errors. Also, they rank Silver Summit last, but use past tense language to describe themselves. This all led me to search a little bit, and it seems that the land has been leased out to an Indigenous group that intends to use the ski area facilities for a healing center or a detox facility, which is honestly quite a surprise ending that I was not expecting. In all honesty, I wish I could have uncovered more of the true story why Silver Summit closed. I'm sure there were reasons, but through all my efforts scouring the newspaper archives and the internet archive, my search results yielded nothing. I'm genuinely sad that Silver Summit won't reopen as a ski resort though. It truly was a unique place, and though it was nothing fancy, it had pretty legitimate terrain. Now, let's take a look at how Silver Summit would have skied. Silver Summit had a respectable 200-meter vertical drop, all serviced by the Blue Double Chair. Coming in at 1.17 kilometers in length, the Blue Double serviced all the terrain at Silver Summit and featured a mid-station in the middle for beginners to unload. The yellow T-bar, built by Doppelmayr, provided better access to 2 runs that would have otherwise had to been lapped using a fairly long and somewhat flat run. From the top of the Blue Chair, the skier had several options. To the immediate right ran Lover's Lane. Lover's Lane appears to be a very wide cut, low gradient green run. Another green run, Luge, branches off Lover's Lane and brings the skier all the way down to the base. At over 2 kilometers in length, this run was fairly substantial and looks like a very pleasant meander through the woods. Now, there's a small run called Cat Track that branches the beginner skier off Lover's Lane before it becomes a blue run. Lover's Spring starts after Cat Track and is slightly steeper than Lover's Lane. Candy's Cut is a short but steep black run that looks like it could have also been partly treed. Shaky Knees and Turkey Trot are the other 2 main runs. Access from the top of the chairlift, these runs are quite steep, with over a 50-degree pitch on Shaky Knees. Summit Bowl is the other main black run trail at the top. The views off Summit Bowl look incredible, and it looks like one of the signature runs at Silver Summit. Last Chute is another fairly long, though not too steep trail leading the skier to the top of the yellow T-bar. Last Chute also looks like it has incredible views and runs on the top of a ridge. Last Chute also gives access to the Spur and Stumps Black Trails, which are 2 short, wooded, and steep runs. Now, Summit Bowl, Spur, and Stumps all lead down to the Mid-Station Green Run and the Gully. These 2 runs were serviced by the lower half of the chairlift and looked like great learning terrain. Larson's Cut branches the skier below the mid-station and towards the luge run. Finally, the terrain served directly by the yellow T-bar includes the steeper Blueberry Pickers Run and the Face Black Run. These runs have around the same pitch as the other, but I have to imagine that the Face was moguled, while Berry Picker was most likely groomed. It's also worth noting that a small handle toe serves the true beginner terrain above the lodge. As well, it's worth noting that the old ski jump is still visible lookers left of the ski runs. Silver Summit is still quite a bit of a mystery to me. I still have no idea why the ski hill closed and what the true story is with the failed reopening attempts. Ultimately, I'll probably never know, but at least the memories of Silver Summit will continue. While it was never the biggest or fanciest ski hill, it was a local gym that taught countless skiers and snowboarders the sport. Perhaps one day it will reopen, but I do have my doubts on that. Thanks for watching The Lost Resorts. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And until next time, this is Skier72.